Australian F1 fans rejoice, for your favorite sport will be staying in Melbourne until at least 2035. The news was announced earlier this month, which will see the event held in the Victoria State capital for the next 13 years, and will come as a welcome announcement for Aussie motorsports enthusiasts. Today, we're discussing the deal, plus other bits and pieces from the world of Formula One, so stay right where you are. So let's get straight into it and discuss the recent announcement. It was revealed on June 16th that the Australian Grand Prix would be staying in Melbourne until 2035. The current deal was set to expire in 2025, but officials were able to hash out a new deal to extend the agreement for another 10 years. The race will remain at Albert Park in the Victoria State capital, which has hosted the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. But included in the deal for the first time is also the Formula 2 and Formula 3 races. This deal will now mean the Albert Park venue will have been home to the race for around 40 years, if or when the event finally moves on when the new deal expires. And the Victoria Minister for Tourism, Sport and Major Events, Martin Pakula, was on hand recently to share his thoughts on the new deal, saying, "We know how important this event is to our economy, and that's why we've delivered the longest extension for the race since it's been held in Melbourne. Following COVID-19 restrictions which have hampered the event over the past couple of years, this year's event saw record numbers turn out to support their teams, with an estimated 419,000 people in attendance over the 4 days. Will you guys be heading to Albert Park in the next few years to see an event? Let us know below." The venue has undergone some changes in recent years. Stay with us to hear about it. As we know, the venue has been home to the Aussie GP for more than a quarter of a century, but the track's owners decided to give it a little bit of a revamp whilst it was closed thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. As well as changes to no fewer than 7 turns, bosses decided to make improvements to the pit lane, as well as resurfacing the track. Turn 1 was widened by 2.5 meters to the right, whilst Turn 3 has also been widened by 4 meters, again to the right. And if you thought that was a lot, Turn 6, which was once a pretty awkward right-hander, has been widened by a huge 6 meters. Turn 9 and 10 is no longer with us, as it's now a flat blast out of 6 through 7 and 8 and into what we all used to know as 10-11. Turn 11 is now a solid passing opportunity, after itself being widened by 3 meters, and 13 has also been widened again to make it more difficult for drivers to defend. The pit lane has also been widened, with the pit wall now sitting where the grass verge used to be. It has also been suggested that max speed in the pit lane could be set to increase from 60 to 80 kilometers per hour. As well as all of this, the whole track has also been resurfaced, which hasn't been touched since the original was laid back in 1995. What did you make of the new layout? So, what was behind the change? Well, bosses had wanted to change the track for some time and used the COVID-inspired hiatus to their advantage. Given the tight corners, it was seen as a difficult track to pass other cars and had come in for a fair amount of criticism from teams and drivers, who had claimed it was near impossible to overtake. The Australian Grand Prix Corporation had plans to make wholesale changes back in 2017, which aren't too dissimilar from what was put into practice, but with one key difference. The old turn 11-12 was initially going to be a hard stop for overtaking, but the whole plan was thrown out as it would disrupt local traffic far too much. But, of course, complaints continued and the powers that be eventually decided to act whilst the pandemic lockdowns meant no racing could take place. They consulted the drivers and a new plan was formed, with work eventually getting underway early last year, with it now being completed. It is thought that the changes will help with more overtaking and therefore more exciting racing. With the widening of no fewer than 7 corners, we should now be set for improved racing conditions as well as far faster laps, with some suggesting lap times could be set to drop by around 5 seconds, which in Formula 1 terms is about 10 minutes to us mere mortals. What teams do you think will benefit most? Up next, Nelson Piquet is in hot water following racist comments directed at Lewis Hamilton. Former driver and 3-time champion back in the 1980s, Nelson Piquet has come in for criticism across the world of motorsports after using the N-word when referring to 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton. The Brazilian, champion in 1981, 1983, and 1987, was talking on a podcast when the conversation turned to Hamilton and Max Verstappen's incident on the first lap of the British Grand Prix at Silverstone last year. Piquet was speaking in his native Portuguese, but referred to the British legend as a neguinho, which translates as one of the more disgusting words in the English language, one which we will not be repeating here. The 69-year-old has been warned he faces being banned from F1 events if he doesn't publicly apologize to Hamilton, with the organization saying in a statement that discriminatory or racist language is unacceptable in any forum and has no part in society. Lewis is an incredible ambassador for our sport and deserves deserves respect. Piquet's daughter, Kelly, is currently dating Verstappen, so it's possible Piquet has a loyalty to Verstappen in that sense, but his comments have absolutely no place in modern society and should not just be brushed under the carpet. The FIA went on to say, the FIA strongly condemns any racist or discriminatory language and behavior, which have no place in sport or wider society. Mercedes also condemned Piquet's comments. What do you guys make of his archaic views? Next up, some exciting news surrounding cleaner fuel. Stay tuned. As we all know, F1 cars and transport in general are a strain on the environment, and the quicker we can figure out how to integrate cleaner fuel into our cars, the better. And F1 seemingly have an answer. The scientists over in their labs have come up with a synthetic sustainable fuel which will reportedly be ready to go by 2026, which will go a long way to helping the sport reach its net zero carbon goals by 2030. Synthetic fuels work by omitting only the carbon that was taken out of the atmosphere to make them when burning. It is also thought they will be available for the regular car industry. F1 have long campaigned for the introduction of more sustainable fuels and have been doing more and more research each season to make their cars more planet-friendly, and a recent statement from the organization, which outlined the use of a newly developed fuel, was confirmed by a source within the organization to be synthetic, not from biomass, which has been used up until this point, and it seems as though the fuel is already in production, as the FIA, F1's fuel partner, and the engine manufacturers have all agreed on its use. The new fuel should cause limited upheaval in the engine department, as it has been designed to work in conjunction with current engine specs. Of course, this is all great news and hopefully signals the end of pollutants. What do you guys make of all this? And finally, Silverstone is set for a festival-style event this weekend. As F1 fans well know, one of the highlights of the F1 calendar is set to take place this weekend as the British Grand Prix rolls around, and circuit managing director Stuart Pringle, who has recently spoken of having a much more collaborative relationship with F1 owners, has big plans for the race going forward, with the next introduction of blockbuster races in Miami and the upcoming Las Vegas race next season. The British GP is now aiming for the event to be more of a festival to keep pace with the American races. Pringle said, to recognize that in Miami and with Las Vegas coming online, there is an expectation to a level of entertainment that is something that has not previously been seen at Silverstone. It is becoming a different sport. There's a whole load of new people coming into it, and Pringle has decided, with the help of his team at Silverstone, that the answer lies in turning the event into something of a British summer festival. Sam Ryder is set to perform the national anthem this weekend, and it's hoped that an on-site music festival will help reduce traffic and will of course help with F1's goal of becoming carbon neutral. Bravo guys, what do you guys make of the idea? As usual, thanks for joining us today, and remember to stop by again next time for some more fun and games. And why not do us a favor by liking and sharing today's video, as well as subscribing to our channel. Bye guys!